Viewed from above, water belongs to no one, only everything that lives. To protect water is to preserve life. The desert is not always immutable. Here in the Negev, in southern Israel, the forest is growing. Is that the Yatir forest?
Forest Yatir, yes.
Olive trees, cypresses, pines, pistachios. This forest in the middle of the Negev is the dream of one man, David Ben-Gurion, one of the founders of Israel. Here, 4 million trees stop the desert. Villages are born, and man is cultivating the place. This forest is entirely man-made. The first tree had been planted in 1963. Today, the Yatir forest covers 3,000 hectares. It's the biggest one in the country, and it's just over 40 years old. Continuing the fight against desertification, the Negev population will increase by 50% within the next 10 years, with new immigration from Eastern Europe. But elsewhere in the world, due to the dryness and bad exploitation of the soil, close to 600 million hectares, around 11 times the size of France, are becoming deserts. In Israel, agronomists have actually created and improved desert agriculture. We're in Keturah in Israel. Here is an incredible woman that I want to introduce you to. Her name is Elaine Soloway. She heads an amazing research program in this experimental kibbutz, surrounded by a magnificent palm grove. But I won't say any more. Hi, Elaine.
Hello.
What kind of tree are you planting?
I'm planting a tree called Balanitis aegypticus. This is a tree that is indigenous to this desert and uses very little water. It uses about 10 cubic meters of water per tree per year.
Why is planting trees so important?
Actually, the only way to revive an area which is suffering desertification is to plant trees, to allow the other plants and the other animals and the insects and birds to return. The trees underpin the ecosystem. They're the most important element. Trees are a cure for many of our environmental problems. They're not only the lungs of the world, they're the world's air conditioners. They cool the ground, they allow the rain to return, because cold air rising means that the clouds don't blow over, that they begin to drop the rain. Trees also stabilize ground that's eroding away. They stop sandstorms. Trees can be planted in protective belts around cities and villages and farms. They store carbon. They can help counteract the effects of global warming just by doing that. If 1/3 of the planet's surface would be forest, a good proportion, I would think that a lot of our problems would be lessened and perhaps even disappear.
Can we say that all deserts can be replanted?
I think we can return it perhaps to what it was. Whether or not we can tackle the Sahara and turn it into a forest that's beyond our power, and perhaps it shouldn't be done, because deserts belong on the world too, the way other ecosystems do.
Elaine Soloway has brought many plants from all around the world to test their resistance to dryness and salt. Here, water pumped from the ground is brackish, in other words, salty. Of the 800 million people who are victims of starvation in the world, most of them live in the dry belt. It's by improving desert agriculture that Elaine Soloway contributes in the fight against starvation.
This is the yellow pitaya. It's from a cactus, one that uses very little water, and it's an excellent fruit and very good for people.
It's delicious.
The water equation is very good on this, and it's a favorite among people who try it.
It's full of water. It's unbelievable.
If we find better ways to use less water and use less energy to fit better into natural areas, then I think it will be better for our children and our grandchildren. And that's one of the reasons why I'm determined here in this little country with such a small amount of arable land and such small water resources. I believe I can design a better sort of perennial agriculture that won't do damage and that will give us everything that we need to live well.
Elsewhere in the world, people can still live without wasting water. In Mali, it almost never rains. Over there, the Dogon people, even without water, are the biggest onion producers in Africa.
A baking sun exerts its unyielding power 800 kilometers from Bamako in the heart of Mali, on the frontier of the scorching Sahel. An immense sandstone plateau, where not a trickle of water can be found, ends at the 200-kilometer-long Bandiagara cliffs. This is Dogon country. Between the plain and the plateau, water is so rare it creates perpetual anxiety. For generations, women have accepted to confront this hostile territory full of dramatic cracks. But how do they manage without water? Perched on a cliff, the village of Duru has 350 inhabitants. Drought, wind, sand, and barely any rain make the Dogon people heroic farmers. Strangely, the onion is the speciality of the Dogons. Traditional farming requires a lot of water. Maintaining these gardens is a real challenge, demanding military discipline controlled by Amadou, the water chief. He does the rations, and he has a sharp eye. "50 gourds per family per day. These are the water warden's orders, which must be obeyed." A dying pond, all that is left from the last rains to water the gardens. You can see the worry on Amadou's face.
Je suis inquiet et que vraiment il ne pleut pas beaucoup et que c'est la seule eau. Vraiment, quand on prend beaucoup, on risquerait à 3 mois de ne plus avoir de l'eau.
Every villager here lives on farming and the onion harvest. Each family has his plot of land. Despite the impossible conditions, they produce several thousand tons of onions per year. By severely rationing the water, the country's most important source of income is maintained. Despite the village elders' petitions, there are not many clouds over Dogon country. 60 days of rain a year, one of the lowest rainfall counts in the world. Knowing how to manage the water, avoiding waste, is all part of survival. Every square meter is conceived to retain maximum moisture. Coming out of this arid earth, the onions demand months of effort and deprivation. Although the gardens appear fresh, it's impossible to forget the burning hell which surrounds the land farmed by the Dogons. thanks to their superhuman efforts, the Dogons have become the leading producers of African red onions. Out of the rocks fallen from the cliff, the women extract banko, earth mixed with straw and manure to help cultivation. Market day in Duru. Caddy comes once a week to sell the onions she's grown with her husband. The women are in charge of bargaining. Chattering and haggling, they animate the market. Buying, selling, swapping. The wholesalers take away several tons of onions at a time. Heavy bundles are carried off to the capital, Bamako, where they are distributed throughout the whole African continent. Amadou is not the only Dogon's much-feared water warden. When he's not rationing, he's working out new strategies to manage the water better. The farmers elected him for this 5 years ago. He also proudly watches over the progress of the dam, which could change everything. 200 dams like this have been built throughout Mali to help the complicated work of the farmers. And it was a Frenchman, ethnologist Marcel Griol, still well remembered here, who built the first dam. In 1930, he undertook the adventurous crossing of all Western Africa, ending up in Dogon country. He studied the rituals and traditions of these brave people trying to conquer nature. A forerunner of sustainable development, he knew that a dam would help the Dogon people to pursue their vital onion farming. Basically, nothing has changed on the Bandiagara cliffs since Marcel Griol. The same rituals, the same working of the land, the same onions. And the ever-increasing fear that one day they will lack the sacred water without which there is no future. Drought is ever more oppressive, and every year the desert comes closer. Discovering a new source makes you a new man, powerful and envied. Rumours are spreading throughout the village. Musa, a farmer, has just found water amidst the rocks. Amadou, incredulous but curious, goes to the site. Musa did well to listen to the sorcerer who advised him to dig here. He dug and dug until a trickle of groundwater came to light, 5 meters from the Earth's surface.
hal kepal kuni kana wa kepal nungo yi nyang wonu ne nana bo ya kepal gidi nungo un uji nungo yetu moma bere futa ma yogo nangni sew yi o ten yo e we yogo nangni sew ye nya yo dam pu jawai sew e liwa yiko e gurowe ama kon na men tak.
Musa's courage has paid off. The wells belong to him. He will be able to water his plants and still provide for his family. He's counting his luck, because although he's tried many times, it's still rare water comes to reward the farmer's efforts. It's now been 10 months since a drop of water has fallen in Duru. The situation is serious. Amadou knows this and has gathered all the village wise men together for discussion under the great Tuguna. They talk endlessly, sitting under a roof 1.20 meters high. Impossible to argue without banging your head on the ceiling.
ama so sen kun gongo ama doag emen kun isam awa yiri garambe bono jiko so yon yiri nya yon doede ko wana kanje ko so yon yidi aywa di won ko yiri e nyang kunasi muduma na ko muduma na ka na muduma di so yena ni man mai ko ku gune me di ma di ni barara yale
Yeah, we join it. Quite getting a joy. I said, I don't remember pay the incubator.
For Amadou, as for all the Dogons, only the spirits, those intangible, unpredictable, but basically benevolent beings, can bring water. Throughout the village, there are signs of reverence to Nomo, the god of water and master of life. In the recess of every door, in every hole in the stone, there's a mask or statuette bringing hope to the people who work as hard as they pray, so they may soon see the trickle of a little water.
There is always one figure which stuns when we talk about water. 70% of fresh water used throughout the globe is used for irrigation of agricultural land. But sometimes we waste this water. See for yourself. In the middle of the desert of the Wadi Rum in Jordan, irrigation canals which occupy the width of the valley over hundreds of hectares. What's this all about? All this irrigation, incredible. All made in the desert.
C'est un truc de fou, ça.
It's crazy.
En plein désert, t'as une construction pareille.
It looks like a French-style garden with those borders and alleys.
Tu vois la maison là?
You see that house over there?
What do you think when you look at that? Do you think it's good to do that or not?
I think that human can do anything.
They tell me that this folly is owned by a royal family from the Middle East. Riccardo Petrella was right. The rich man never runs out of water. I cannot stop thinking about the fact that French people also act like rich people, billionaires. Only with them, it's with food. A French person uses 4,000 liters of water a day. For a basic steak, taking into consideration the water used to irrigate the corn eaten by the beast, it will have taken 2,000 liters of water before it reaches my plate. Another example, my cotton t-shirt. From the cotton fields to the factory costs 7,000 liters of water. For our electricity, it takes 400 liters a day for each French man and woman. For what we use daily, it's a huge amount of water. That is what we call virtual water, but this water is unfortunately real. It's crazy how much water there is around. Look, we're in the middle of the desert and it looks like marshland, an unbelievable waste of water. It's important to remember, we're in the middle of the desert. There are no rivers nor lakes, so where's the water coming from to cultivate these huge areas? The water which irrigates all this cultivation is under my feet. It is a nappe phreatic layer. Unfortunately, this layer doesn't have enough time to regenerate because it's fossil water. Man is wasting within 10 years what took millions of years to create. But do the Jordanians have much choice? They're lacking water and already import 97% of their cereals. The nappe phreatic layers being wasted here, elsewhere, are being polluted. And it's especially true in Gaza, Palestine, where the conflict with Israel diminishes the quality of fresh water.
Gaza, a small strip of narrow land in the southwest of Israel. With more than 3,200 inhabitants per square kilometre, it has one of the densest populations in the world. Pumped from polluted groundwater, 90% of the tap water is unsuitable for consumption. A catastrophe which is responsible for hundreds of deaths each year. Dr. Younis Moguer delivers the results of the analysis.
The disease could be direct from the surface water, is a cholera, is a typhoid, which is as a result of the nitrate increment in the groundwater.
Taking into account the increase in population, Gaza can no longer manage to treat its wastewater. This is what we found 2 kilometers from the town centre. This is where the sewage from the town's northern neighbourhoods is dumped. Only 1/3 of the wastewater discharged into the water purification plant is treated.
We can see here is the suspended solid, which is originally part of the pollution inside the wastewater. After treatment, it's going to that very big lake, and that water in that lake infiltrate naturally to the groundwater and increase the pollution, the chemicals such as the nitrate in the groundwater.
This pollution has a direct effect on health. Yusuf, Maja and their 2 children live in the very poor neighbourhood of the Canyons.
مش بحطها المية هذه يعني الله يعني والله يمدوها للبهايم اللي هي البهايم ما بتشربها. يعني صابرين ما فيش فيدنا حاجة نسوي عليهم. ليش بدنا نعمل لنا حاجة عشان قصة المية؟ ريحنا راسنا على قصة ايش الفلتر وكنا على التحلية. ندب قلان ونيجي، أما قصة المية والله مستحيل يعني بنستخدمها صرنا الحين لمدة بس غسيل. نغسل ايدينا نغسل أوعينا هذا بس قصة المية.
A few weeks ago, little Marwan had a kidney operation. His crying and sleepless nights alerted his parents. But Marwan is still not completely healed. Today, he has an appointment for new kidney x-rays. Dr. Albata will have to operate a second time.
But he have now pain in left kidney. وهنا في القاع هنا كمان في حصوة تحت هنا. حصوتين كبار طبعا في داخل الكلية. نعم. هذول طبعا بينزلوش إلا إيش حصاوي صلبة هذه.
These kidney stones are due to dehydration and the level of salt in Gaza's water supply. A whole generation of young Palestinians are threatened. In addition, the overexploited groundwater is being invaded by seawater, and the tap water comes directly from there. Too high in salt, it causes major kidney failure. Many decontamination plans have been thought up by the Palestinian authorities, but every time work stumbles due to conflict with Israel. The solution requires the building of new infrastructures.
This project is funded by USAID, and the project consists of a national carrier, and the carrier transmit the water from the desalination plant, which will be constructed inside Gaza Strip, not outside from Gaza Strip.
The desalination plant the Palestinians dream of does exist, but in Israel, in Ashkelon, a few kilometers north of the Gaza Strip. It is capable of supplying hundreds of millions of cubic meters of water per year. 1 Israeli out of 7 consumes water from this plant. Even if this technology is greedy in energy, every year it consumes 75 million liters of oil. It remains the only foreseeable solution for Gaza. Some of this water, about 5 million cubic meters, goes every year to Gaza for humanitarian reasons. It is totally insufficient because the real needs are 10 times higher. Even with the resumption of international aid, more than €1 billion are needed to resolve the drinking water problem in this small part of the world.
On Earth, 1 person out of 5 doesn't have access to healthy water. I would like to remind you that in France, 2/3 of our rivers and groundwater are polluted. But we do have the means to make it drinkable. We are in Wadi Foukin, on the West Bank. This village fascinates me. It was created 300 years ago by 2 families who negotiated the sharing of water and lands. 300 years later, there are 1,200 inhabitants who are still doing the same thing. This system has worked for 3 centuries. Today, this Palestinian village is threatened by an Israeli development which surrounds it. The buildings and tar roads prevents water infiltration and the replenishment of the spring. But there's worse. These newcomers eject their used water into the cultivated valley.
Look around you, you can see over there the massive development of new building. This new building is part of expansion of a Jewish settlement in the West Bank named Beitar Elit. And the expansion of this settlement and massive development in the small watershed cover the area with road, parking lots and sealed surfaces that prevents the water to reach the spring.
But why, as an Israeli, are you protecting the interests of this village?
First of all, I'm neighbor to these people, and I'm a professional hydrologist. So therefore, I felt that I have the option to make a change and help these people in their struggle. But beside of that, I think it's a human being contact. We all care to each other. We all living in the same land and in the same region. And I don't see there is a way that in one hand you got people that have no power, neglecting of any kind of hold on their future. I feel that only by personal struggle and only by personal contact between people we can make change and influence the decision maker and the process that's here.
A simple conflict of interests? Maybe. But think about the problem on a different scale, which brings countries into conflict, not only villages. And you have the recipe for a possible war for water. But with some effort, we can avoid it.
Hi, Abu Mazen.
Alan. Bonjour, monsieur.
Bonjour. This is Abu Mazen, my friend, community leader, and a respectable farmer of Wadi Fukin village.
Is there still the same amount of water, or is the water decreasing? Is there less, or the same as it was before?
طبعا نقصت المياه بسبب سبب واضح. المياه نقصت بسبب واضح انه اليهود حوالينا بفجروا التفجيرات، بيسووا تفجيرات في الجبال وبيبنوا على رؤوس الجبال وبالتالي المياه.
Could selling your products to the colony be a solution?
احنا بنزرع الكسا، بنزرع خيار، بندورة، باذنجان، فلفل، كرع، في خيار مثلا، يقطين، العنب بنزرعه كمان، شجرة العنب، ونزرع كل الخضرة هذه بالإضافة كمان لأشجار بنزرع، احنا كمان نزرع أشجار. هلا بالنسبة للبيع مع المستوطنين احنا ما بنبيع مع المستوطنين ولا بنتعامل ولا بأي شكل من الأشكال معهم.
What do you think about Lior's work around here?
Sur ce village.
ممتاز. يعني قدم كل ومير لخا تدربا التام في كل حفريم شلخا في تدربا.
But the solution seems simple. If Israelis buy fruit and vegetables from the Palestinians, it would stop the pollution. As always, we don't share enough. Sharing water teaches you how to live together, and this fight is also the fight of a woman I admire, Danielle Mitterrand. We follow her to an amazing place in Brazil, Minas Gerais. It's a natural paradise, the source of 2 rivers, and she wants to protect it from covetous eyes.
Here, water spurts up from the ground, and along its way, this water nourishes the most populated regions of Brazil. More than 60 million inhabitants depend upon it. For the Brazilians, these water sources are a treasure to be protected. They call them Brazil's water tower. For 20 years, Danielle Mitterrand, as the head of her foundation, has been defending the rights of oppressed people. A commitment which today she considers to be useless if man has no access to water. At 82 years old, she's putting a lot of effort into this new fight.
Je suis plus très jeune, je continue à agir, et quelquefois c'est difficile, c'est dur pour moi, physiquement, mais je le fais, vous savez, pour rire souvent je dis, il faut pédaler, si on pédale pas le vélo tombe. Eh bien, aussi longtemps que je pourrai maîtriser mes fatigues et aller de l'avant, je le ferai.
She intervened as a matter of urgency. 2 multinationals wanted to bottle this water. Further south, a similar project has almost entirely dried up the groundwater. Danielle Mitterrand alerted UNESCO. They listened to her and classified this region as a biosphere reserve, which prevents any marketing.
Quand on dit aujourd'hui l'eau est une marchandise, nous on dit non, l'eau n'est pas une marchandise. C'est une partie intégrante de notre propre corps, de l'existence de la Terre. On ne vend pas la vie. Or l'eau, c'est la vie.
This water will not be bottled, but another danger looms. A danger linked to the Earth's resources. Here, minerals abound which enrich the water. A phenomenon strengthened by the region's incredible biodiversity, and which gives the water an exceptional quality when it comes out of the mountain, filtered by the rocks. But this land, so rich in minerals, is also rich in ore. This has always been Brazil's main mining region. This is where we find one of the biggest iron mines in the world, also one of the most polluting. The main danger for all the waters of the region.
J'ai la sensation de me trouver devant une plaie ouverte qu'on inflige à la terre. Là, on a l'impression d'être dans un espèce de furoncle malsain, cancéreux, qui sournoisement pollue tout l'environnement de cette région.
An open wound, but also the main economy of the Minas Gerais. For 70 years, the town of Itabira has grown alongside the mine. When the iron ore is extracted, the waste is discharged in the form of mud full of heavy metals, which infiltrate the groundwater and pollute it. The result? Towns downhill from the mine have to purify their water to make it drinkable.
Vous savez, quand je parle de l'eau, moi je dis tout le temps, comme on n'aura plus d'eau potable, et que c'est pas la peine de se dire, mais on pourra la purifier, et puis on aura de... Non, parce que chaque fois qu'on la purifie, on pollue encore davantage. Donc un beau jour, on aura des matelas de dollars, et puis on mourra parce qu'on n'aura pas d'eau potable.
Another threat to this precious water, the furnaces where charcoal is made. The charcoal is used as fuel to transform the iron extract into steel. To fuel the furnaces, a tree has been imported from another continent, a tree which grows very quickly, the eucalyptus. 150,000 hectares of native forest were chopped down so they could be planted.
Tudo isso que nós estamos vendo aqui são as árvores de eucalipto. Uma floresta inteira sem biodiversidade. Uma floresta inteira que está sugando toda a água do solo, empobrecendo toda essa região. A única coisa que existe é uma floresta sem vida e que foi feita para gerar lucro para a empresa.
Beneath the eucalyptus forests, the ground has become impermeable. The result? Water runs off the surface and doesn't top up the groundwater. After 20 years of exploitation, this means desertification. The industrialists don't care. They set up here because rain is abundant. The trees grow quickly. The operation is very profitable for the owners of these enormous plantations.
Ils ont été plantés pour une mission, c'est-à-dire d'être coupés à l'âge de 5 ans, brûlés, faire du charbon de bois. Et pourquoi faire? On ne répond plus à nos besoins, on répond aux besoins de l'appât du gain maintenant. Et il faut absolument que l'homme reprenne raison.
The eucalyptus also cause obstruction in the water flow. Their roots are very shallow and can't retain the soil, which ends up in torrents. The current carries this red earth, which bit by bit blocks the rivers. There have been similar devastating consequences due to the country's other mining business, the extraction of precious stones. This land, rich in iron, is also rich in gold and diamonds. So everyone is looking for a find. By digging into the mountain, the miners have caused the death of the streams. Earth hurtles down the slopes and ends up in the rivers.
Isso é a origem do garimpo. Ele entupiu o poço. Aqui é 2, 3 metros de fundura aqui, ó. Olha lá, a fundura que tá aqui. Vê isso aqui, ó, erosão, ó. Entupindo as aras. Os criadores, aonde os peixes moravam, ali os peixes morreram. Acabou.
The fish do not have enough water to breed. José Antonio can no longer manage to support his family by fishing.
Aí, ó, pode ficar aí, ó. Fica o dia inteiro aqui, ó. Mas nada apanha. Porque é de que não tem. É o garimpo. O que fez isso? O garimpo. O garimpo para ouro e diamante. Acabou o peixe do rio.
Like everyone around here, he was a gold digger in his youth, but he didn't find his fortune. Since becoming a farmer, José Antonio has become aware of the damage he caused to his environment.
Hoje em dia não faço isso. Destruir as margens de rio, os córregos, as cabeceiras de água é o que nós necessitamos. Se nós acabar com a nossa água, o que nós estamos falando? Nós estamos acabando com nós próprios, nós si mesmo. Então vamos ajudar. Nós precisamos ajudar, agir.
The classification as a biosphere reserve obtained by Daniel Mitterrand was a first step in the protection of Brazil's water tower, but it hasn't stopped the most polluting mining businesses. So to safeguard these most precious waters, such as this waterfall and the springs which feed into it, more restrictive zones of protections are needed by creating national parks. But a park means rules which need to be accepted by the inhabitants of the Minas Gerais. Zé and his wife have always lived here on a few plantations and a bit of breeding. In order to protect the vegetation and the water, the creation of a park forbids bringing cows to graze on the mountain. A decision they have accepted because their life depends on the springs.
Que cor que desce lá, que desce no mato lá, só for do céu para ter água mais boa que ela. Toda hora que você passar lá, qualquer tempo ela está fitadinha aqui. Uma beleza, olha a água boa.
Se acabar a água...
Acabou tudo. Tem mais lindo que tem a água que Deus deu a gente, não é? Ela é pra tudo.
A real treasure. Daniel Mitterrand would like the right to water to be part of the constitution, a battle her husband, the former French president, would have supported.
Vous savez, François, il me dirait, comme il me dit, t'as causé juste. Chaque fois qu'il y avait un différend entre la politique officielle et mes initiatives, jamais il ne m'a freiné ou interdit quoi que ce soit. Il m'a dit, si t'as causé juste, défends-la. Évidemment, ça ne nous aide pas beaucoup, mais t'as causé juste. Et je crois que celle-là, elle est juste.
Through her intervention, Daniel Mitterrand has given more weight to the local ecologists to mobilize the reserve's population. Everyone has the same objective: getting the industrialists to take measures to preserve the water indispensable to life in the region.
This kind of initiative will help attain the UN goal: decrease by half the number of people who don't have access to drinking water by 2015. We are flying over the Judea desert. Here is the spectacular fortress of Masada in Israel. In the year 73 AD, a rebellious 1,000 Jews preferred to kill themselves instead of surrendering to the Roman army. For the assault, the Romans constructed a ramp, which you can still see at the foot of the fortress. Built into the cliff, here is the Christian monastery of Mar Saba, founded in the 5th century. Not far away, the mosque of Nabi Musa, which housed the grave of Moses. On this land mingle 3 great religions. This is the place where you really notice that they all have the same origin. I'm standing at Old Gesher, a border between Israel and Jordan. Gideon Bromberg is Israeli. He belongs to a group, a gathering of Israelis, Palestinians and Jordanians under the association Friends of the Earth. Their idea, encouraging 3 countries to work together for sustainable development and that way building a stronger future for peace.
ידידי כדור הארץ זה ארגון יוצא דופן, זה ארגון ישראלי, ירדני, פלסטיני משותף שמתעסק בנושא המים החוצה גבולות. אנחנו מנסים לקדם חינוך בנושא מים, אנחנו מנסים להשפיע על מקבלי החלטות בנושא מים, אנחנו מנסים להציל חלק מהמשאבים הכי חשובים באזור שלנו, שיש להם משמעות לא רק לאזור, אבל לעולם כולו, נהר הירדן, ים המלח.
With all the troubles there are in these countries, and it is a land in conflict, do the children discuss it with their parents? Do the children tell you what their parents think?
הילדים שמשתתפים בפעילות השונה, הם מתחילים להכיר את השכן שלהם בעצם בצורה הטבעית ביותר, דרך המים המשותף ביניהם. הם בונים דברים יחד, הם לומדים יחד, הם יושנים יחד.
Have you noticed any change? Do Palestinians, Jordanians and Israelis understand that they have to work together? Can you sense something?
כאן הרבה שיתוף פעולה סביב מים. לכל אורך האינתיפאדה, כאשר בכל נושא אחר נפסק השיתוף פעולה, בנושא המים המשיכו, הממשלות לכל אורך האינתיפאדה המשיכו לדבר, בגלל שהם יודעים, הם מבינים שאנחנו תלויים אחד בשני כאשר אנחנו מדברים על מים.
In respecting water, you find peace.
זאת הדרך בהחלט לעשות שלום בין העמים וגם לכבד את הטבע המשותף בין כולנו.
I want to believe in the hope of peace sown by these children who don't know hatred yet. And this is what I'm thinking about when I land in Jerusalem. This city should be an example of coexistence in the world, but what's happening here is the total opposite. If I've chosen this area for this documentary, it's because the tensions are so enormous. And I hope that the lack of water will bring them together. It won't be the first time that man unites on common ground. Flying over this city, I feel moved. Even if this wall is a wall of shame for some and a wall of safety for others, it is still devastating for a 3,000-year-old town. What is amazing from above, and which is a form of continuation of the wall, is the Wailing Wall, which is sacred to the Jews from around the world, and not 2 steps away from the Esplanade, the mosques, which are important to all Muslims, and right in front of the Church of St. Sepulchre, the meeting place for Christians. Seen from above, everything gets mixed up. And it's obvious to me, whether Christian, Jew or Muslim, or nothing at all, there is one thing common to us all: water. But water will probably force human beings here in the Middle East to make peace, assuring their survival. It's the only hope I believe in, here in Jerusalem, for water and for all of us. Good evening.
Bonsoir.
I want to thank all these people who have shown me how precious water is. I would like to thank Ricardo Petrella, a militant for the universal right to water. Thanks to Dave Tilford, who is fighting against the Las Vegas pipeline. I'd like to thank Amadou Sagara. Thanks to him, the sharing of water amongst the Dogons has remained stable. Thanks to Khalil Metek, water is a gift that we cannot waste. Thanks to Julie Trottier, who is fighting against the extinction of the Dead Sea. Thanks to Christine Jean and her friends who have fought for the Loire River. Thanks to Elaine Soloway, who is experimenting in desert agriculture. Thanks to Leo Asaf and Abu Mazen, protecting water goes beyond international borders. Thanks to Younes Moguer, who denounced the pollution in Gaza. Thanks to Danielle Mitterrand, who is fighting for water as a human right. Thanks to Guidon Gromberg and the Friends of the Earth Association, who is trying to make peace via water protection. As before, this documentary is carbon balanced. What does it mean? To make this documentary, between helicopter trips and flights, we've wasted approximately 121 tons of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which adds to the global warming factor. It roughly represents what 15 French people produce every year. We've decided to balance this pollution by participating in the Carbon Action Project in association with ADEME. It sends direct aid to a French NGO, Chenducour, who's working in the Santa Marta's, Sierra Nevada, Colombia. In these mountains live the Koji Indians. For the last 30 years, 78% of these lands have lost forests due to agriculture and breeding. The association finances the buying of deforested lands from the farmers and returns the land to the Koji Indians, who are in charge of replanting the forest. These new forests will contribute in regenerating the soil and recreate the flora and fauna. And finally, they will absorb thousands of tons of carbon dioxide and will contribute to the great fight against global warming. For us, it really counts.